Good afternoon, everyone. I want to express my support for the case of British Petroleum's Deep Horizon well. I want to thank Esperanza Martinez for presenting this compelling case for the rights of the oceans. Your presentation reminded me of the horrors of watching the Deepwater well burning for about a month, spewing some estimated 12,000 to 19,000 barrels a day. I think the estimates that we have in the United States is that 170 million gallons of oil spilled in the Gulf of Mexico. And as you mentioned, 100 miles of coastlines were directly affected. And thousands and tens of thousands of species lost their lives, from seabirds to turtles and many others that you showed in your presentation. I also recall seeing the great concern about the dispersants, the chemical dispersants, some 2 million gallons that were used to control the spills, and the impact that that has on the life chain and the systems, the productive systems, the fisheries, the mangroves, and the seagrasses. You have made a strong argument that many of the rights of Mother Earth that are listed in the Declaration, the Universal Declaration for the Rights of Mother Earth, have been violated. And that critical ecosystems in the Gulf, as well as all the way, the impacts being felt all the way to the Caribbean coast, that we looked at huge damage to the turtle habitat, to the migratory birds, to the brown endangered species, the brown pelican, to the tiger sharks and the seahorses. That these are impacts that are potentially irreversible. So based on all of those things, that I see that there is an argument for that the right to life and the right for ecosystems and species to exist have been violated, Article A. That I see the arguments that we could look at that these rights of ecosystems were not respected, and the rights of vital cycles to be free to continue and regenerate were not addressed, were not respected, and clean air, health, community health, not only animal and plant communities, but human communities. I recall that during this moment of the spill, shortly thereafter, communities from the Ecuadorian Amazon affected by Texaco went to visit communities of Huma indigenous peoples whose livelihoods, whose fisheries, whose way of life, whose health were affected, and who saw significant destruction of their sacred coastlines by this spill, and the exchanges that the communities in the Amazon had with these Gulf communities. So yeah, the rights of human communities as well. And that you made the case about the rights that this could have affected genetic structure of the life forms of this Gulf. And really what's curious now is whether there is restoration, adequate restoration, happening to protect life forms, including human life. So because of all of those things, and because we are under pressure from the oil industry, the U.S. government has gone ahead and given permission for these wells to continue operating, putting at risk the ability of these ecosystems to heal from this trauma. You make very good arguments that I think the tribunal needs to examine and determine that really this case should be admitted and should be investigated and should be ruled on as soon as possible. And while we deliberate and look for evidence, I would like to invite the petitioner to give us more information, more specific information about the kinds of actions that are needed immediately, so that if we are in the position to make recommendations for immediate actions, that we can do so with respect to more information, more evidence, not only about the impacts of the dispersants and the impact of the spills and the impact on wildlife, but what's happening with restoration in the Gulf? What's happening with compensation? Is there independent monitoring? And why is it that these additional wells are being allowed to operate, and the cumulative impact of these wells is putting at risk the restoration efforts? And how is it that, would like more information, how is it you recommend that the parties you mentioned, British Petroleum and the US government, look at non-repetition in this case? What would that look like? Are we talking about a moratorium in a certain area of coastline? Do we need a moratorium in this entire affected area, or just in the wells nearby? What are the communities affected, and the communities that are speaking for the species and the life forms of this region think is adequate for action, for recourse? And what kind of recourse? Lastly, to just comment on, I felt so incredibly moved this morning and had to really fight off the tears many times, feeling the incredible historic moment we stand on this planet. And the cases we heard, how strong all of them are in looking at the crimes against Mother Earth. Because this is a moment of crisis on the planet. Mother Earth is on life support system at the moment. And that until we look at urgent action to restore life and put in line, our human community in balance with nature, we are at risk. All of humanity and all of life forms on the planet are at risk. So I'm particularly moved by this important moment for this tribunal and this process of looking at the rights of Mother Earth and what we each can do to advance the rights of Mother Earth. And I just also feel very strongly about all of the cases. I think that one statistic that really gripped me from the presentation around the climate, the urgency of our climate, is that we are very perilously close to more than a 2-degree increase in global temperature rise. And should that happen, we are looking at the loss of at least 50% of all plant species on this planet. And this is not something that we can survive, this level of loss. And so I just want to say that I'm grateful for the audience that's here today and the media. We need to make sure this message gets out through the mainstream media and the independent media. And we have a lot of work to do here and other similar processes to make sure this process awakens the masses and advances, enforces the rights of Mother Earth, upholds these original instructions, and actually results in recommendations and tangible decisions which can help elucidate the importance of actions in each of these important cases, which are just a fraction of the number of cases you can imagine being meriting consideration. So thank you very much.